After the meeting concluded, Zhang Yi went straight to Fremon's quartermaster to request combat supplies. Other teams' mutants witnessed this and found it somewhat surprising. After all, mutant combat rarely involved the use of firearms. Even mutants who relied on firearms would use specialized weapons. Mass-produced bullets were intended for ordinary soldiers. Only Emperor Indra, who had glimpsed Zhang Yi's abilities through Time Prelude, knew he possessed combat methods like Lord of War. Indra had long suspected the Fremon's faction of stealing the core of the colossal mechanical life form. Eager to see Zhang Yi fleece them thoroughly, he grinned and followed along, ready for the show. Newton and Brian emerged behind them. Newton adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses, a faint smile playing at his lips. "Let's go. We should catch the show too." Brian looked astonished, shrugging his shoulders. "What's there to see? You know those weapons just sit in warehouses gathering dust, requiring massive resources to maintain. If it were up to me, I'd sink them to the bottom of the frozen sea." "Not necessarily." Newton looked at Brian and said calmly, "You don't understand weapons. Every country's arsenal has been upgraded long ago. To combat the mutants, all the old-style weapons have been phased out. Whether it's firearms, tanks, or ammunition, everything has been improved. So Fremon's armory is filled with the world's top-level equipment right now, worth a fortune." Brian shrugged. "But they're pretty useless against Epsilon-level mutants, right?" Newton turned to look at Zhang Yi nearby and remarked calmly, "Though I don't know his intentions, knowing him, he wouldn't do anything pointless. This time, Fremon's might pay the price for his arrogance." Upon hearing Zhang Yi's request, the Fremon's official was puzzled. Yet according to the agreement between Prodaja and the various mutants, he was obligated to unconditionally provide the strategic equipment demanded. "Please follow me, Mr. Chaos. Our Fremon's boasts the largest armory in the entire world," the official declared with pride. Though Fremon's economy lagged far behind even the Jiangnan region, its military industry flourished, creating a nation of starkly mismatched development. He missed the meaningful smile playing on Zhang Yi's face. "Very well, thank you for your trouble." Located on the southeastern outskirts of Samaran City, the vast expanse of the arsenal was visible from afar, presenting a spectacular sight. Across the immense snowfield, snow vehicles and tanks were arranged in orderly rows stretching as far as the eye could see, forming a colossal steel forest. However, most of this armament had been phased out, with only a small portion still usable on the battlefield. The excessively heavy steel war machines and tanks had lost their mobility on the battlefield. Compared to the mechanical life forms of the mechanical civilization, they seemed crude and primitive, like outdated products molded from mud by monkeys. The quartermaster opened their armory for Zhang Yi, a colossal underground warehouse. Some mutant beings from other nations tagged along, curious to see the spectacle. The quartermaster wore an expression of pride and composure. As the official overseeing Fremon's armory, he took immense pride in what was arguably the world's largest stockpile of military hardware. He led Zhang Yi and the others underground. The sheer scale of this space stretched beyond the limits of sight. Countless weapons were stacked densely. Racks displayed various new model weapons specifically designed for combat against the mutant, while ammunition crates were piled over 10 meters high. The quartermaster stood with his hands behind his back, his hooked nose topped by a pair of smug eyes. "By our commander's orders, we will unconditionally supply all allied nations with the munitions they require for combat within Fremon's territory. So, take as much as you possibly can. Don't be shy, grab whatever you need." He gestured generously toward the immense arsenal with his left hand. Behind Zhang Yi, Deng Shintong struggled to keep his facial muscles from twitching. He stared at the quartermaster with an utterly peculiar expression, already beginning to feel sympathy for the man. Zhang Yi crossed his arms, speaking calmly and deliberately. "Let me confirm once more, does Prodaja represent the highest authority of Fremon's?" The quartermaster paused, then nodded firmly. "Mr. Prodaja is a member of the Fremon's trio. His orders represent the will of Fremon's highest leadership." He inwardly scoffed, what kind of Washu Kingdom powerhouse is this? He's clearly never seen the world. Just some weapons, probably enough to leave him gobsmacked. Zhang Yi nodded. That puts my mind at ease. So, Prodaja said we could take whatever weapons we want here, as many as we can carry. We'll just do as he said. The quartermaster shrugged dismissively. With just your little group, how much could you possibly take? Don't hold back, go for it. Deng Shintong wanted to laugh, silently praying for the quartermaster's well-being. Emperor Indra wore a look of gloating satisfaction. Zhang Yi nodded. Then, right in front of the quartermaster, he unleashed his everything under heaven. Gate of 3,000 realms completely enveloped the entire armory. The next moment, within the vast weapons storehouse, all the armaments were pulled by a powerful force, soaring into the air and flying toward the alternate space. The quartermaster's expression shifted from haughty arrogance to stunned disbelief, then paled into sheer terror. No! No! Stop! What are you doing? But Zhang Yi moved with blinding speed. In a mere 2 seconds, the vast warehouse was emptied completely. The now empty warehouse possessed a clean, spacious beauty. Zhang Yi closed the dimensional gate, then smiled and nodded at the pale quartermaster. Thank you for your generosity. With that, Zhang Yi turned to leave. Watching this unfold, Emperor Indra burst into unrestrained laughter, making no effort to hide his mockery of the Fremon's people. Newton lifted his spectacles. So that's how it is. His knowledge of Zhang Yi was limited. He hadn't been present during the main battle. Only through figures like Cardalus had he learned of Zhang Yi's partial spatial ability trait. Now, his intelligence on Zhang Yi had gained another piece. A vast dimensional space capable of holding terrifying quantities of supplies. Its exact dimensions remained unknown. A look of astonishment flashed in Griffin's eyes. Hey, where did all those weapons go? His dimensional space, right? His expression suddenly turned grave. Then let me put it this way, if he could open multiple dimensional gates simultaneously, say, stick his head through one and pop it out somewhere else. Wouldn't that open up all sorts of interesting possibilities? A twisted grin spread across its face. Like experiencing long-distance intimacy with his girlfriend. Newton was well accustomed to this shameless, depraved dog, which was why he resisted the urge to slap it. Zhang Yi turned to leave, and only then did the quartermaster snap out of his shock. His entire body was drenched in sweat. Out of sheer terror. He knew that if he let Zhang Yi leave like this, he'd be shot on sight later. After all, this armory held 1/3 of Samarin City's entire military reserves. Were they supposed to fight the Mechanical Legion with guns that had no bullets, using them as firewood instead? Wait! Mr. Chaos, please wait! He erupted into the fastest sprint of his life, closing the distance to Zhang Yi in an instant. Facing this world-class mutant, he summoned every ounce of courage and fixed him with an unflinching stare. You can't take all these weapons. Zhang Yi smiled warmly, showing no impatience with this lowly quartermaster. Instead, he crossed his arms leisurely and inquired, is there a problem? Even Prodaja agreed I could freely withdraw weapons and equipment. You acknowledged this yourself, why are you stopping me now? The quartermaster's heart ached bitterly. He had overcommitted earlier, and now he was getting slapped in the face. But I didn't expect you to take so much. Not just him, even Prodaja had assumed that no matter how greedy Zhang Yi might be, he'd take a few million rounds of ammunition at most. Who could have imagined he'd empty the entire warehouse? Zhang Yi's expression suddenly turned stern. That's not right. We came to aid Fremons. We agreed to all your conditions. Now you won't give us a single weapon? Is this Fremon's attitude? The quartermaster was already crying. Yes, he hadn't even realized his own fear had made him weep. A little? That's enough to arm an entire army of hundreds of thousands. I'm just a lowly quartermaster. Please don't make things difficult for me, I'll be executed if I do. Zhang Yi exchanged glances with the others. They all struggled to stifle their laughter. But Zhang Yi didn't press him. His real target was Prodaja. All right. Go report to a superior officer who can handle this. I refuse to believe that in a great nation like Fremon's, its representatives can take back what they've said. The quartermaster, relieved as if granted a pardon, hurriedly sent a communication to Prodaja. At that moment, Prodaja was smugly contemplating his next operational plan. He aimed to maximize Fremon's gains while minimizing risks, making the effective utilization of each nation's mutant forces crucial. Just then, the communication system buzzed. He frowned, displeased at being interrupted at such a moment. But subordinates rarely dared contact him directly unless it was urgent. Prodaja answered the call. "Hello? What is it?" The quartermaster stammered through the explanation. Prodaja's previously smug expression turned green with rage. He trembled with fury. "Scoundrel! This chaos is utterly despicable. I need to speak with him directly," Prodaja declared angrily. The quartermaster breathed a sigh of relief. Now that Prodaja would speak directly with chaos, he could wash his hands of the responsibility. The quartermaster transferred the call to Zhang Yi. Before Zhang Yi, Prodaja's displeased face materialized. "Lord Chaos, I hear you've emptied our armory?" Zhang Yi shrugged. "What? You want us to come fight your war, yet you can't even spare a few weapons? Come on, Mr. Prodaja, I know you're not that kind of person." Prodaja took a deep breath and said gravely, "We would unconditionally supply necessary weapons and equipment. But what you're requesting far exceeds the quantities required for standard military preparedness. This isn't what we discussed earlier." A smile touched Zhang Yi's lips. "Says who? I can put every single one of these weapons to use. Not only that, I'm worried we won't have enough. So please have your munitions factories ramp up production." Prodaja took another deep breath. "Chaos, stop this nonsense. You have barely over 100 men. Unless you're bringing in the entire Huashu Kingdom's army, how could you possibly need this much weaponry and ammunition?" Zhang Yi blinked. "So, all I need to do is prove I can use this weaponry and ammunition, right?" "Of course." Prodaja didn't believe for a second that Zhang Yi could possibly use that much weaponry and ammunition. It defied all logic. What kind of mutant charges into battle driving a war chariot while lugging a giant machine gun? Even if Zhang Yi were a god of war, how many weapons could he possibly carry, arms, legs, and shoulders strained to the limit? Very well. Zhang Yi's gaze grew intense. "Then I'll show you exactly what I mean." He glanced around. Though spacious, this warehouse felt cramped for what he intended to do next. Zhang Yi turned and walked out of the armory, the quartermaster following close behind. Emperor Indra, Newton, and the others followed, eager to witness what Zhang Yi intended to do. They found themselves on the outskirts of Samurn City, surrounded by vast, open land. Zhang Yi spoke calmly to Prodaja, "Watch closely." As he spoke, he raised his right hand, fingers splayed toward the sky. Gigantic dimensional gates unfolded across the sky. In the next instant, a dense swarm of pitch-black gun barrels and cannon muzzles materialized from the dimensional gate, coldly pointing downward at the earth. The sky darkened, as if a colossal black cloud had enveloped everything around them. Hundreds of thousands of guns and cannons, icy and menacing, were aimed at everything on the ground. Fremon's soldiers stared in horrified silence, their bodies frozen stiff with terror. Even figures like Emperor Indra and Newton were so stunned by this monumental spectacle that they drew sharp breaths, their eyes reflecting profound light. Zhang Yi addressed the stunned Prodaja in the projection, "The greatest advantage of a space ability user is unmatched logistical support. A single man like me can be an armed force of hundreds of thousands. So now, do you still think these weapons are excessive?" The look on Prodaja's face was now identical to that of the quartermaster just moments ago. "What kind of crazy mutant fights like this? You good for nothing." Prodaja felt utterly duped right now. Even though he'd been extremely cautious, knowing Zhang Yi possessed immense storage capacity, he never imagined Zhang Yi would fight this way. Now, his earlier confident promise to supply all battlefield necessities had backfired spectacularly, leaving him utterly speechless. He couldn't very well refuse to provide weapons for someone fighting his battles, could he? You don't fight like this normally, do you? Otherwise, who could possibly sustain such consumption? Prabhaja stammered, his face contorted as he pointed at Zhang Yi. Nonsense. Zhang Yi retorted bluntly. Who fights tens of thousands of fearless mechanical life forms in their regular battles? You should know that ordinary supernatural abilities are barely effective against them, while firearms actually work surprisingly well. Of course I'd stock up on guns and cannons. Prabhaja remained unconvinced, but you didn't have to empty our entire armory. Zhang Yi chuckled, who can predict what the future holds? Don't worry, if I don't use them all, I'll return them. Prabhaja refused to believe a single word. These weapons were the latest models developed over the past 2 years, not outdated designs from 3 years ago. Beyond their enhanced firepower, their production costs were astronomical. Once Zhang Yi took them, he'd never return them. His heart bled, but Zhang Yi's next words nearly made him slam his fist on the table. Once I've used them all, I'll come back for more. So get your military factories cranking up production. Prabhaja cut the communication immediately, refusing to engage with Zhang Yi any further. He slammed his fist hard onto the table, trembling with rage. You, chaos. You're as cunning as they come. Seeing Prabhaja's furious expression, Aliyev and Vladimir exchanged glances before asking curiously, what's got you so worked up? They'd all just been celebrating together moments ago. Prabhaja recounted the entire incident to the two men. Even with their status, they couldn't help but wince at the thought. Vladimir puffed on his cigar, pondering for a long moment before declaring, give it to him. Assign him to the most dangerous sector, let him fight for us. Not a single weapon obtained from Fremons should go to waste. Aliyev inquired, have those humanoid demon gods that appeared in Karen resurfaced? Prabhaja's brow furrowed. The term brought back memories of that terrifying night. No. Currently, only the Mechanical Legion is active in Fremons. Their primary areas of operation are the Far East, the Khmer Federation, and the Northwest Federation. Aliyev set down his cigar. He spoke with a grave expression. The core members of the Pantheon are now primarily stationed in Sammarin City. If any traces of mechanical life forms are detected in unknown territories, dispatch the special forces from other nations to investigate. This way, even if those dreadful demon gods appear, they will bear the primary risk. Only after they have neutralized the threat will our forces intervene. Behind the activities of the mechanical civilization, some profound secret must be concealed. If Fremons could uncover that secret, a smirk touched his lips, his icy pupil glinting with a sly light. Fremons might reclaim the glory of the Surimans era, even becoming the most powerful civilization on this planet. Vladimir nodded approvingly. With sufficient power in hand, all previous losses, be it population, territory, or resources, will pale into insignificance. Zhang Yi returned to his quarters with an entire arsenal of weapons and equipment. Recalling Prabhaja's sour expression back then, everyone couldn't help but chuckle. That guy. We came to help, yet he kept scheming against us. Now we've given him a taste of his own medicine, he'll probably die of rage. Fatty Sue's grin never faded. Zhou Kir spoke softly to Zhang Yi, but this is still Fremon's territory. And we need their intelligence to track the mechanical civilization's movements. If things get messy, what if they turn against us? Zhang Yi dismissed the concern. Even if I hadn't done that, he'd still target us. The only difference is that before, he treated us all equally, assigning the most dangerous missions to the mutant teams from the major powers. Now, though, he'll hand the most dangerous missions directly to us. Zhang Yi shrugged. So what? We're partners, but we can walk away any time trouble arises. But if things go south, Fremons is finished. Zhang Yi sneered. They think they can sell their intel for top dollar just because this is their turf, but that's like trying to pull chestnuts out of the fire. Those guys are madmen. Instead of figuring out how to ensure their own people survive, they're only thinking about maximizing their own profits. Deng Shintong shrugged. Standard procedure. Nothing to get worked up about. But the benefits we gain from the Mechanical Legion are substantial. Cutting ties completely would be a loss. Uncle Yu said with a troubled expression. But there's nothing we can do. This is their turf after all. Fatty Sue shrugged helplessly. Zhang Yi rubbed his knuckles and said calmly, no rush. We'll just wait and see. Meanwhile, Ling, the spy accompanying them, sat sprawled on the sofa with her legs wide open. A high-calorie energy bar was in her mouth as she intently operated a device about the size of a game console with both hands. She held up the electronic device for Zhang Yi to see. Big boss, I have some extremely valuable intelligence. Interested? Zhang Yi looked up, his curiosity piqued by this spy who'd been operating in Fremons for years. Oh? What kind of intel? What else? Of course, it's about those metal monsters. Zhang Yi's eyes flickered. He was intensely curious about this girl before him. On his very first day in Fremons, it was under her guidance that Zhang Yi had encountered the Mechanical Legion. Yet even Fremons, a world-class military powerhouse, couldn't accurately track the Legion's movements. They could only pinpoint their location when the Mechanical Legion surfaced. Could Ling possess technology surpassing Fremons? Zhang Yi still didn't know the nature of this girl's abilities. Perhaps it was precisely her unique talent that allowed her to secretly gather vital intelligence within Fremons. I'll buy it. Name your price. Zhang Yi declared without hesitation. Ling snapped the energy bar in half and declared, those energy canisters you gave me before. I want 10 of them. Each energy canister stored the purest form of elemental matter, capable of releasing energy equivalent to nearly 10,000 tons of gasoline. Ling's asking price was very high, but Zhang Yi didn't hesitate at all. He directly pulled 10 canisters out of his alternate space and tossed them to her. Ling beamed with delight. Usually, when she did business, the other party would haggle over the price to some extent. But Zhang Yi's generosity was even more impressive than that of Deng Shintong, the wealthy young master. Not to mention some of the high-ranking figures in Fremons she knew. She picked up her device and transmitted a data map to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi opened it to find it clearly marked the areas where Fremons had identified mechanical life form activity. Thoughtfully, it used different colors to indicate the quantity of mechanical life forms, even providing precise coordinates. Zhang Yi glanced at it before looking up at Ling. You have inside connections at Fremons. Ling smiled, her eyes crinkling. Wherever there are people, there's business to be done. After all, intelligence is worth its weight in gold during times of war. Truly a professional spy. Zhang Yi murmured his admiration. Uncle Yu stroked his chin, grinning. Does this mean we can operate independently without relying on Fremons intel? Zhang Yi smiled faintly. No, that's not my intention. This statement left everyone utterly bewildered. What had they come here for? Wasn't it to extract super-advanced technological power from the mechanical civilization? Now that the intelligence was right before them, Zhang Yi was backing out. Ling also watched Zhang Yi with a playful look, her bright eyes sparkling with a peculiar light. On the map, she had thoughtfully marked several locations for Zhang Yi, all areas where large mechanical legions were active. Yet, unexpectedly, Zhang Yi chose not to act. Yang Xinxin spoke up, brother's decision is sound. First, even with clear intel, any action we take won't escape Fremon's notice. Breaching the agreement on their turf would not only complicate future operations but also draw resentment from other nations' mutant teams. She slowly held up 2 fingers. Second, acting unilaterally offers far too low a cost-benefit ratio. The others looked at her in confusion. Yang Xinxin explained, in reality, among all the nation's mutant teams, only we have captured a super-large mechanical life form in tens of thousands of mass-produced units. This is more than enough for our research. Moreover, with Karen's abilities, we'll be fully capable of replicating them independently in the future. Not to mention, we even have a way to crack their energy cores. Therefore, in any future conflict, only the super-large mechanical life forms would hold significant value. the mass-produced units are largely worthless. Most crucially, according to Alexei, there exist even more dangerous humanoid life forms among the mechanical beings. Those are the real threats. I believe we should conserve our strength and avoid rushing into action. She pondered for a moment, glancing at Zhang Yi beside her before speaking slowly. Moreover, based on my guess, Fremons likely won't order us into action immediately either. Their goal is to leverage the power of other nations' mutants to preserve their own combat strength. Then we can similarly let other mutant teams scout the path for us first. Zhang Yi slapped his thigh. Xinshin is absolutely right. That's exactly what I was thinking too. Fatty Su chuckled, walking up behind Zhang Yi and poking his arm. Boss, you're so smart. When did you figure this out? Zhang Yi replied nonchalantly, right after Xinshin finished speaking. It clicked for me. Everyone couldn't help but laugh. Zhang Yi didn't feel the slightest bit awkward. Anyway, I'll say it again. Safety comes first. Until we understand the true dangers of the mechanical civilization, don't risk reckless actions out of greed. Everyone nodded and dispersed to prepare thoroughly for the battle that could erupt at any moment. Ling walked over to Zhang Yi, and sighed. Big boss, you're so steady. Acting like this, you're just leaving great opportunities for others to snatch up. Zhang Yi smiled dismissively. I'd rather do nothing than make a mistake. Ling shook her head in exasperation and walked away. Her face was etched with frustration. What an utterly incomprehensible human. With such immense power at his disposal, why must he be so cautious? In the days that followed, Zhang Yi and his team received no notification from Fremons to deploy on combat missions. Meanwhile, other national teams of mutants gradually received their own objectives and departed from Samaran City. Zhang Yi knew full well this was Prodaja's deliberate retaliation, yet he couldn't care less. For this period, he was immersed in researching the secrets of mechanical life forms alongside Yang Xinshin and Lu Karen. Ling lived with them constantly, but whenever Zhang Yi's team held discussions, Deng Shintong would always send her away. Though she was originally Deng Shintong's spy, her prolonged stay in Fremons raised suspicions she might have become a double agent. The possibility of her selling Zhang Yi's intelligence to other nations could not be ruled out. Time slipped by uneventfully, and a week passed without incident. The teams arriving in Fremons were the elite mutant units from nations across the world. While facing the Mechanical Legion proved troublesome due to their defensive force fields and relentless, fearless tactics, humanity achieved victory after victory through sheer strength and an insatiable greed for the products of a super-advanced civilization. Fremons' engineering corps moved in to clear the battlefield. And just like that, without losing a single soldier, they claimed 30% of the spoils. It was a profitable haul beyond measure, leaving Prodaja and the others excited beyond words. Zhang Yi had been on standby for a week. During this period, the other nations' mutant support forces had all made gains. Of course, these gains came at a cost. Fighting against a Mechanical Legion numbering in the tens of thousands proved extremely taxing, inevitably resulting in casualties. However, their gains undoubtedly compensated for these losses. Simply speaking, the technology of the mechanical life forms, if it could be cracked, it would be worth any number of lives. Only Fremons had reaped massive benefits without suffering any casualties. Prodaja was extremely pleased with himself at this moment, though one thing puzzled him. Why haven't the people from Huashu Kingdom come looking for me after all this time? He frowned, utterly baffled. How could they possibly maintain such restraint? In his imagination, Zhang Yi would be unable to resist coming to him upon seeing other nations reap such vast spoils, pleading for Prodaja to grant him a chance to fight. Yet Zhang Yi remained uncharacteristically composed, staying in Samaran City all this time. At most, he visited Alexei for drinks and conversation, but never approached administrative officials like Prodaja to request battle assignments. Could it be seen through our true intentions? Vladimir ventured. Prodaja narrowed his eyes, falling silent for a long while. But everyone knows there's no such thing as a free lunch. That he could resist such a massive temptation truly astonishes me. No one understood the mechanical civilization better than Fremons. Their operations across the vast lands of Fremons were searching for something specific. The seemingly vast and dangerous mechanical legion was merely engineering units. The most dangerous ones had only intervened once before, when the Reaper of Love disrupted their construction. Since then, they had vanished entirely. Solving Fremon's problems would inevitably lead to confrontation with those humanoid beings. Otherwise, the Mechanical Legion alone would never have required global assistance. Aliyev took 2 puffs from his cigar. For now, as long as we don't deploy those large-scale weapons of mass destruction, the mechanical civilization's combat units won't appear. After all, he paused briefly, his tone uncertain, this world harbors a profound aversion to those underground civilizations. Entities as powerful as the Hades Gatekeeper and the White Dragon dare not wield their authority above ground. That breathtaking battle lasted less than 30 seconds before they were forced to retreat from the surface back to the underground realm. Vladimir stared at him and asked gravely, if that's the case, then we can mobilize the Pantheon too. Prodaja immediately objected, impossible. Morana must remain in Samarin City. We need her to safeguard our security. Vladimir countered, let others mobilize. We can't stand idly by while foreign mutant forces reap all the rewards. Though currently they receive 30% of the benefits without lifting a finger. After a week, witnessing other nations' mutant forces reap massive rewards in Fremons, discontent simmered within them. They yearned to claim all the spoils for themselves. Vladimir exhaled a thick plume of smoke, leaning back leisurely on the sofa as he declared, after all, we now hold an advantage no other nation possesses. Namely, we've discovered a method to counter the mechanical life form's defensive force fields. Their engagement with the mechanical entities had spanned half a year, sufficient time to yield substantial research breakthroughs. After lengthy deliberations with Aliyev and Vladimir, Prodaja concluded that the current relative stability warranted dispatching a team of Pantheon elite to assault a mechanical legion. But who should we send? Morana cannot leave us, her top priority must be safeguarding our security. What about that fellow Purin? Vladimir shook his head. He's not part of the military. Seems dull-witted, but he has his own agenda. I detest independent thinkers. He might refuse our commands. Prodaja suggested, if neither of them can go, then we'll have to send Jusenberg. At the mention of that name, both Vladimir and Aliyev nodded, their expressions turning satisfied. Luna, Jusenberg, within the Pantheon, his innate talent was second only to Winter Goddess, Morana. He was once poised to become one of the Pantheon's 3 great powers. Later, after the Huashu Kingdom War concluded, the portion of Black Bishop tier origin they received was given to Jusenberg's faction, propelling him to Black Chariot tier strength. All this was naturally kept secret from Alexei, who was still recovering from injuries at the time. He was later compensated with other resources. Today, Jusenberg's ability index had already begun to surpass Alexei's. Then let him lead this operation. Vladimir nodded with a smile. After all, he is one of us. That day, a formidable Fremon superhuman force departed Samarin City, heading toward the Northwest Federation region to combat the mechanical life forms. Zhang Yi sat in the living room, fingering the silver pistol forged from divine refinement. Its substantial weight in his hand assured him that pulling the trigger would unleash deadly bullets. This kind of thing gave him the greatest sense of security. It should be about time. Zhang Yi moved his hand, and divine refinement instantly transformed into a silver bracelet encircling his wrist. Yang Xinxin sat beside him, quietly sipping hot coffee. Since arriving here, they had relied solely on provisions they'd brought themselves. Even the finest meals enjoyed by the elite in Fremon's harsh, frigid lands couldn't compare to the quality of Zhang Yi's supplies stored in his dimensional space. Indeed, it should be about time. Yang Xinxin replied to Zhang Yi. Their eyes met, calm surfaces concealing surging currents beneath. Those who play with fire will eventually be consumed by it. Fremons uses the special forces of various nations as fuses, attempting to ignite the bomb of mechanical civilization. The question is whether they can bear the consequences. Northwest Federal Territory, Alto City. This city had been utterly abandoned by Fremons. The emergence of mechanical civilization had compelled the higher-ups to concentrate their forces and scarce resources on safeguarding their own lives and property. This city, situated in the remote northwest, now stood unguarded. Howling winds swept through the city streets like the Grim Reaper, bringing only endless despair. Suddenly, the frozen city shook violently. Buildings, once rigid as dead wood, swayed and tilted before crashing down in a thunderous collapse. A mechanical life form crawled out of a fissure in the ground. Two long mechanical arms supported its head, resembling a giant headless ostrich. Soon, more and more mechanical life forms of various shapes and sizes appeared throughout the city. Their gaze swept across the cityscape. The mechanical life forms merely carried out their task, clearing away every obstacle hindering their excavation work. Humans? No different from bricks and tiles. Soon, the entire city fell without resistance, completely overrun by the mechanical legion. Their efficiency was astonishing, though this largely depended on a colossal mechanical life form that had appeared within the city. Like a massive mobile work platform, it stood at the very center of Alto City. 8 mechanical legs anchored it to the ground, while numerous slender mechanical arms extended from its torso, each equipped with various tools. Countless smaller mechanical life forms leapt from its belly, scattering throughout the city. Tens of thousands of mechanical life forms began their busy tasks, clearing debris, excavating the ground, and scanning the Earth's energy reactions with specialized ray instruments. Within hours, the entire city of Alto was swept clean, every trace of human activity erased. A massive pit now gaped in the city center, excavated dozens of meters deep. Rumble. A piercing sound split the sky, growing louder as it approached. 5 F-37 aircrafts, the world's most advanced models, appeared near Alto City. Fremon's Krufa unit had finally arrived. Led by Jussenberg, the Luna of the Pantheon, they were poised to strike against the mechanical legion that had destroyed Fremon's city and slaughtered its people. Jussenberg gazed down from the sky. The vast mechanical legion below operated with methodical precision, yet they had clearly detected the approaching human aircraft. Yet they merely glanced up before resuming their tasks, showing no regard for these aircraft, or indeed, for humanity itself. A faint smile touched Jussenberg's lips. They truly possess such power. After half a year of dealing with the mechanical civilization, Fremons knew exactly how formidable they were. Even now, when the world's mutant forces arrived in Fremons to fight them, the vast majority of teams suffered significant losses. Only a handful of teams, like Chaos, incurred minimal casualties, some even emerged unscathed. Imagine this, tens of thousands of death-defying mutants at the deputy captain level or above, facing a colossal mechanical life form possessing the combat power of a black chariot. If the mechanical civilization so desired, any single mechanical legion could sweep across the vast majority of the world's nations. But now, the situation is different. Fremon's forces had come prepared. They now knew how to counter the mechanical legion's defensive force fields. Once those fields were breached, these steel-plated behemoths would prove far less formidable. Commence. Jussenberg's face twisted into a combative grin as he barked the order. 4 of the 5 F-37s immediately fanned out, streaking toward the outskirts of Alto City. 4 aircrafts approached the outskirts of Alto City. Immediately, their rear doors opened, and 4 massive parcels descended toward the ground, suspended by parachutes. Following them were the Krufa unit's mutants. A group of mutants leapt from the heights, shouting, but preceding them were missiles streaking across the distant sky, trailing orange tails. Fremon's forces held the home field advantage here, able to call upon missile support at any moment. As Zhang Yi had stated, though they could resist supernatural abilities, firearms remained effective against them. As if sensing the incoming assault, the colossal mechanical life forms suddenly glowed red. Like some signal being transmitted, all the mechanical life forms busily at work lifted their heads. What could be called their eyes all flashed with an eerie red light. Dozens of missiles reached their destination in an instant. Right before the eyes of Jussenberg and the others, they streaked past them, heading straight for the center of the distant mechanical legion. In that instant, beams of energy shot out from the mechanical life forms. Multicolored lights formed a brilliant shower of light in the sky. Most of the dozens of high-speed missiles never even reached the ground, and were directly intercepted, exploding violently mid-air. Only a handful of missiles landed within the mechanical legion, instantly triggering powerful explosions. The shock waves violently hurled the mechanical life forms away. Dozens of mechanical life forms at the explosion's epicenter were utterly destroyed. Yet many flung hundreds of meters away suffered only twisted, damaged torsos. As long as their energy cores remained intact, they could crawl across the ground contorted and limping, still ready to fight, even without mechanical arms. The few missiles had little impact on the battlefield. The Fremons knew firsthand just how resilient these mechanical life forms were. However, the chaos and thick dust cloud created by the explosion provided the Krufa unit with a perfect opportunity to strike. Jussenberg and his soldiers had already landed in Alto City. 5 F-37 heavy transport aircrafts carried 1,000 Krufa warriors. Only one-third of them were mutants, the remaining 700 were highly trained soldiers. This was a battlefield where every cannon fodder held value. Fremon's military industry ranked among the world's best, rivaling even the Huashu Kingdom and Colombia. Upon arrival, the 1,000-strong force immediately began deploying long-range artillery. After observing the battlefield for a long time, Jussenberg finally identified the optimal attack route. Jussenberg grasped the two massive scimitar swords. Their blades were larger than his own frame, yet in his hands, the heavy, colossal weapons felt astonishingly light. A silver moonlight flashed in his eyes, and a crescent moon-shaped silver mark appeared precisely at the center of his brow. His entire being seemed enveloped in moonlight, a luminous glow covering his form. The blades of the crescent moon sword shimmered with an icy, menacing light. In the next instant, his figure became ethereal, like a hazy moonlit night, shimmering with moonlight. Bang! A violent sonic boom erupted where he had stood moments before, the intense shockwave sending surrounding soldiers flying backward. Jussenberg had already charged into the mechanical life form's battle formation. His speed was too swift, all could see were two enormous silver moons swiftly reaping through the mechanical life forms. Those mechanical life forms possessed incredibly resilient bodies, yet before those two swords, they crumbled as easily as paper. Luna Jussenberg, an enhancement-type ability user. By now, with the continuous development of mutant abilities, mutants were also compensating for their own weaknesses. Thus, the divisions between ability types were no longer so absolute. However, even those seemingly possessing multiple elemental abilities would always have a dominant specialty. Take Zhang Yi, a dual-element time-space ability user. His formidable melee skills today merely compensate for his dual-element nature. Essentially, a user of a specific element can harness their elemental abilities at 100% capacity. Yet, when acquiring other elements through drugs, training, or secondary awakening, they often struggle to achieve even 50% effectiveness. Jussenberg is an enhancement-type mutant. This is precisely why he was assigned to this mission. Enhancement abilities suffer minimal disruption from defensive force fields. His attacks rely purely on brute force. What can your force field possibly block? Jussenberg's twin silver crescent blades tore a gaping fissure right through the center of the Mechanical Legion's formation. The Krufa unit's mutants roared hurrah. Then they charged forward in his wake. Facing the barrage of diverse supernatural attacks, the mechanical life forms instantly activated their defensive force fields to resist. But at that very moment, the counter-defensive force field, devices pre-deployed by the Fremon's forces around the perimeter began to activate. From all directions, powerful energy surged outward in waves, targeting the entire battlefield. Fremons had studied them for so long. Though lacking a genius mechanical engineer like Liu Karen, the time and effort invested had paid off. Influencing the mechanical life form's defensive force fields with opposing fields could weaken their defenses by over 30%. This was undoubtedly a monumental research achievement. It effectively reduced these mechanical lifeforms' defenses by 30%. Offense and defense, like the relationship between spear and shield, where even a slight edge could completely alter the course of battle. The moment the mechanical lifeforms realized their defensive fields were no longer impenetrable was precisely when the Krufa unit tore their bodies apart. After all, these mechanical lifeforms lacked the agility of human bodies, and a significant portion were swiftly destroyed. The 300 mutants of the Krufa unit charged forward like ancient Spartan warriors. The ground was littered with the wreckage of mechanical lifeforms. Yet they were soon engulfed by a sea of these machines. Like a stubborn ship battling relentlessly amidst the waves, Jussenberg advanced unopposed, charging directly toward the colossal mechanical lifeform. To secure total victory in this war, we must eliminate this behemoth. It is the very heart of this army. Jussenberg suddenly surged with power, sweeping dozens of obstructing mechanical lifeforms aside. The concentrated beam attacks focused on him struck his body without inflicting the slightest damage. Jussenberg lifted his head, gazing up at the colossal mechanical lifeform, his lips curled into a maniacal, battle-hungry grin. He had to end this quickly. Otherwise, the mechanical legion would overwhelm them with sheer numbers. Even if he survived, the over 1,000 Krufa warriors beside him would perish without a doubt. Ha! Jussenberg roared, moonlight erupting from his body as he charged forward like a bolt of lightning. Around the colossal mechanical lifeform's torso, crimson eyes lit up one after another. Jussenberg was fast, but not faster than the electronic eyes. His movements were completely tracked by the mechanical entity. Whoosh! Laser cannons swept toward him in a dense, spiderweb-like pattern. Jussenberg's motion halted mid-air. His form abruptly retreated, rapidly circling around the colossal mechanical entity. A dust and snow-laden hurricane erupted around the colossal mechanical entity. Within moments, it swelled into a hundreds of meters tall tornado, engulfing the colossal mechanical entity at its center. Jussenberg's speed was sufficient to unleash a massive storm. Countless eyes on the colossal mechanical entity flickered with light. It could pinpoint Jussenberg's location with precision, yet its attack speed and reaction time couldn't match his. Its colossal frame inherently compromised its agility at close quarters. Jussenberg evaded its repeated assaults. To his eyes, this behemoth seemed utterly clumsy. Once you study its combat patterns in advance, it's actually not that difficult to handle. Jussenberg swung his crescent twin blades, timing his strike perfectly to hack viciously at the colossal mechanical lifeform's ankle. A smooth gash instantly appeared at the joint of its limb. The colossal mechanical entity lost its balance, teetering dangerously to one side. Seeing his strike land, Jussenberg's fighting spirit surged even stronger. The colossal mechanical lifeform quickly regained its footing, but Jussenberg had already closed in directly beneath its body, throwing it into a flustered state. Dense laser beams erupted from spider-like eyes, only to be blocked by Jussenberg's sword. Without your force field advantage, your offense is nothing special, huh? Jussenberg roared with laughter, swinging back to sever another mechanical arm. The battle unfolded in real time back in Samarin City, where the Padaga trio watched the extermination operation live. The unfolding battle brought a collective sigh of relief to the three. Padaga exclaimed excitedly, "All our research hasn't been in vain." Vladimir nodded. After all, they're machines. Once you grasp their operational principles, they're actually far easier to deal with than humans. Aliyev smiled. And we owe much of this to the research data provided by other nations' mutant task forces. Based on the current situation, we've mastered countermeasures against these mechanical lifeforms. We can now reduce their operational frequency. All safe missions will be handled by our own personnel. Only when high-risk tasks arise will we assign them. The trio had calculated their strategy well. On the battlefield, Jussenberg had seized control. Though the colossal mechanical entity possessed formidable defenses and an overwhelming size, requiring time to neutralize, victory in the conflict was virtually assured. Yet no one noticed the strange, pitch-black humanoid creature that had silently emerged from a corner of the city. It watched Jussenberg fiercely hacking at the colossal mechanical life form. Its eyes, flickering with complex streams of information, conveyed a sense of puzzlement as it murmured softly. Had anyone understood its language, they would have heard it ask, "Why is he attacking a construction vehicle?" The humanoid creature was perplexed by Jussenberg's actions. This wasn't the first time. Recently, the ground engineering units had been reporting attacks by indigenous life forms. Initially, mechanical civilization paid little attention. After all, these were merely mass-produced engineering machines. Sending them to explore a surface of unknown danger inevitably meant encountering accidents. But recently, these attacks had grown frequent. This severely disrupted their plans. So today, when the engineering fleet once again reported an attack, the mechanical civilization had finally deployed its combat units. Prodaja, Vladimir, and Aliev sat in the warm, comfortable office, clinking glasses to celebrate Fremon's recent monumental victory. On the large screen, Jussenberg had successfully brought down the colossal mechanical life form. Its massive frame crashed to the ground like a defeated giant. "This is Fremon's victory," Vladimir declared. "What mechanical civilization? I see it's nothing special after all." Aliev reminded him, "Don't forget our earlier defeat at Karen City. We must remain vigilant at all times." Vladimir took a drag on his cigar and remarked calmly, "That was because we were caught off guard." But looking back, it was only the surprise attack that made the enemy seem so terrifying. His hand, holding the cigar, pointed toward the screen. "Just like back then, when we believed these colossal mechanical life forms were impenetrable. Yet now, we can take them down with ease." Prodaja nodded in agreement. "Put simply, they're just machines. Things that operate on fixed programs. With human ingenuity, we can easily crush them." Composed smiles graced the faces of the three. Meanwhile, Jussenberg received orders from Prodaja. "Jussenberg, go retrieve the core of that colossal mechanical life form now. That component holds the greatest value." Jussenberg replied with a grin, "Got it. But I doubt one will be enough for research. So when will you assign me a new mission? Or better yet, how about today?" He slung his twin swords behind his back, his confidence soaring after vanquishing that colossal beast. "I feel like I could take on another fight." Prodaja chuckled, "No need to rush. If a good opportunity arises, it will definitely be yours." Their conversation flowed with laughter, yet in the visual feed, Jussenberg's expression abruptly hardened. Noticing the change, Prodaja asked curiously, "What's wrong?" Jussenberg rotated the feed. "This. Is that the kind of humanoid creature?" Thus, Prodaja and the others clearly witnessed everything through Jussenberg's perspective. It was a pitch-black humanoid creature. Its height appeared to be only 3 to 4 meters. Enveloped in a layer of special material, a non-reflective black cloak, it resembled a tall mutant if viewed solely from this angle. Yet the telltale signs that it was neither human nor even carbon-based life lay in its two metallic-looking arms, the bizarrely shaped blades fused directly to its arms, and the enormous tail stretching behind it, a tail so massive it rivaled its entire body. Language felt utterly inadequate at this moment. Jussenberg and the others couldn't describe it using any known biological terms. This black humanoid creature appeared with startling abruptness. Jussenberg had remained utterly unaware of its presence from start to finish. Its massive tail arched upward like a scorpion's, suspended high behind it. The curved blade's tip was as sharp as a crab's claw, densely studded with black, razor-like edges. Yet whether in the tail behind him or the strange blades in his hands, dark red gem-like substances were embedded throughout. The instant he appeared, Prodaja's face drained of color. "Jussenberg, get out of there." But the warning came too late. All they saw through the lens was the black humanoid creature raising its dark blade and striking out. A blinding red light filled the entire frame. The feed from Jussenberg's location instantly went black. The three-person team of Prodaja fell into panic. How could this happen? Why did those terrifying creatures suddenly appear? This shouldn't be possible. Why didn't another nation's mutant team encounter him? Damn it all. I hope Jussenberg can defeat him. Are you crazy? Have you forgotten how terrifying those things are? Even Morana had to flee when facing them. Probaja clenched his fists, his face twisted with frustration. He couldn't fathom why such misfortune had befallen Jussenberg. He was one of the main forces of the Pantheon. His future was infinite. If he fell in battle, it would be an unbearable loss for Fremons today. Aliev stood up decisively. Dispatch reinforcements to Alto City immediately to support Jussenberg. Vladimir crossed his arms, his expression grave. But who should go? You know how terrifying those creatures are. Sending ordinary mutant troops would be nothing but a suicide mission. Aliev glared. Morana must stay to protect our security. Send another nation's mutant squad instead. Vladimir's voice was low. The fastest route from here to Alto City takes 40 minutes. There's no way they'd make it in time. No, the closest unit to them is already on a mission. It's Brahma's team, we can send them for backup. But even they'll need at least 20 minutes to arrive. 20 minutes was more than enough to end a battle. They'd lost contact with Jussenberg's group, which meant the situation was dire. At that very moment, a name suddenly surfaced in Probaja's mind. Only he could swiftly reach the battlefield in time to rescue Jussenberg. Send Chaos from Washu Kingdom. He's a space ability mutant, he can reach Alto City in the shortest time.